There is a moment, deep within your heart, when the noise of this world fades, when the troubles that weigh heavily on your soul seem too much to bear, and you find yourself searching for a place of rest. Tonight, I want you to pause and listen, because there is a promise waiting for you, one that is ancient, yet as alive and powerful as the breath you take. Psalm 62 tells us that the soul finds its rest in God alone. Can you imagine that? In the midst of uncertainty, in the storms that rage around us, there is a stillness, a refuge that no man, no circumstance, no worry can ever take away. You see, so often we look to people, to achievements, to possessions, hoping they will calm the anxious beating of our hearts. But here is the truth: they cannot. They never can. Only God. Only He can quiet the restless spirit. Only He can lift the heavy burden and whisper peace into your very being. I want you to think about that for a moment. All those times you've tried to fix your life in your own strength. How did that work for you? And now, imagine laying it all down, surrendering it to the one who holds the universe in His hands and letting Him carry you. There is power in waiting quietly, in trusting fully, in saying, "Not my will, Lord, but yours." And oh, I know it is not always easy. There are nights when fear tries to chase you, when doubt creeps in, when the heart says, "I cannot stand any longer." But it is in those moments that Psalm 62 calls us to remember. Be silent before God, for He alone is our rock, our salvation. He is faithful, unchanging, and He is already working on your behalf even when you cannot see it. I feel the Spirit speaking to us now, calling every weary soul, every anxious heart. Do you hear it? Do you feel that stirring deep inside? That is the gentle voice of God inviting you to come and find rest. The soul does not find rest in money or fame or comfort or approval from others. No, my friends, the soul finds rest in God alone. And when you rest there, truly rest, a peace that surpasses understanding will wrap around you like a cloak, and you will know without a doubt that He is enough. And I want you to consider this. What if tonight you allowed Him to be enough? What if you let go of the struggle, the striving, the endless seeking, and simply stood still in His presence? Can you imagine the relief, the joy, the quiet assurance that comes when the soul finally rests? There is freedom there, freedom from fear, from anxiety, from the pressures that try to steal your hope. When you let God be your fortress, you cannot be shaken. When He is your rock, no storm can prevail against you. So take a deep breath tonight, and in the stillness, surrender. Lift your heart, your mind, your life, and place it entirely in His hands. And in that sacred surrender, hear the promise of Psalm 62 whisper to your heart. Truly my soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. Let those words echo. Let them resonate deep within you. Because they are true, they are for you. There is a longing deep within every human heart, a quiet ache that nothing in this world can seem to satisfy. We search endlessly for peace, for relief from the burdens that press upon us. We reach for success, for approval, for comfort, hoping somehow that it will fill the emptiness inside. But if you have been honest with yourself, you have already discovered that these things, as wonderful as they may appear, are fleeting. They cannot hold you in the storm. They cannot quiet the restless beating of your soul. And that, my friends, is the truth that Psalm 62 speaks to us tonight. The soul finds rest in God alone. Imagine for a moment standing on a rocky shore, waves crashing all around you. You cling to driftwood, to whatever you can grasp, thinking it will keep you safe. But the current is strong, and the waves relentless. This is how life feels when we try to find peace apart from God. We clutch at human solutions. We strive to control our circumstances, and yet the turmoil only grows. But then, in the midst of the chaos, someone points you toward a solid rock, a foundation that will not fail. That is what God offers. That is the rest the soul has been longing for, the kind that cannot be shaken by fear, by loss, by disappointment. Think of all the moments when your heart raced with worry, when sleep would not come, when doubt whispered in the stillness of the night. Perhaps you tried to soothe it with distractions, with the comfort of things that fade. Perhaps you chased after achievements, thinking they would give meaning to your days. And yet, the unrest remained. That is because the soul is not meant to find its rest in what is temporary. Only the eternal can satisfy the eternal part of you. Only God, who made your heart and knows every secret sorrow, can offer that deep, abiding peace. And here is the beauty of it. You do not have to manufacture it. You do not have to earn it. It is already there, waiting for you. God's rest is not dependent on your circumstances, on your bank account, on your achievements, or on the approval of others. It is a gift freely offered to the soul that turns to Him, trusts Him, and says, "Lord, I cannot do this alone. I need you." And the moment you surrender, the moment you lift your heart and lay it in His hands, the waves begin to calm, the weight begins to lift, and the soul begins to breathe freely once again. I want you to picture that moment, the heavy burden you have been carrying, perhaps for years, being lifted off your shoulders. Feel the tension leave your body. Hear the quiet voice whispering to your heart, I am your rock, your salvation, your peace. That is not a metaphor. That is not a promise to be taken lightly. That is the living reality that Psalm 62 points to. The soul finds rest in God alone. And the wonder of it is that it is accessible to everyone. No matter how far you have wandered, no matter how many mistakes you have made, no matter how many nights you have spent in fear or doubt. God's rest does not discriminate. It is for the weary, the broken, the anxious, and the seeking. And as you sit here, perhaps silently wrestling with your own struggles, I want you to realize something vital. There is nothing in this world, no person, no possession, no achievement, that can replace what God offers. That longing inside you, the hunger for true peace, will never be fully satisfied by anything else. It is only when you turn your soul toward Him, when you anchor your heart in His promises, that you will find what you have been searching for all along. And oh, what a glorious, indescribable, freeing rest it is. Calm in the storm, strength in weakness, hope in despair, and joy that cannot be stolen. There comes a moment in life when we realize that all our striving, all our plans, all our efforts are not enough. We have tried to carry the weight of our burdens on our own. We have tried to control outcomes that were far beyond our reach. And yet, here we are, weary, restless, and longing for something more. That is when the soul begins to whisper for surrender, for trust, for the courage to let go and say, Lord, I cannot do this alone. I need you. It is a quiet, almost trembling acknowledgement that we are not meant to walk this life carrying every fear and every worry ourselves. And oh, what a miracle happens the moment we truly surrender. You see, surrender is not weakness. It is not giving up or admitting defeat. No, surrender is the doorway to power, the opening through which God can enter and move in ways that no human effort ever could. And trust is the key that unlocks that door. How often we cling to our own understanding, our own plans, believing that if we just work harder, if we just try longer, we can make life safe and predictable. But life, as we know, is never predictable. Storms come, heartbreak comes, doubt comes, and suddenly we find ourselves gasping for air, desperate for help, and longing for rest. That is the very moment God has been waiting for. The moment when we stop fighting, stop striving, and lift our hearts fully to Him. Imagine holding tightly to a rope, climbing a steep cliff, exhausted, your hands blistered, your arms trembling. You cannot climb any higher, and the ground feels impossibly far below. And then a hand reaches out to you, not just a human hand, but the hand of God Himself, offering a grip that is strong, steady, unshakable. Will you release your grasp on your own struggling, your own striving, and take His hand? That is the essence of surrender and trust. It is a leap of faith into the arms of the one who will never let you fall, into the hands of the one whose plans for you are perfect, and whose love for you is unending. I know how frightening it can feel to let go. Our hearts are naturally afraid of the unknown. We worry about what will happen if we stop controlling every detail, if we stop worrying about every outcome. But here is the truth: God does not ask us to surrender blindly. He asks us to surrender with faith, with the confidence that He is already at work behind the scenes, orchestrating, providing, guiding. And the moment we trust Him, a burden lifts that no human hand could remove. Anxiety begins to fade, fear begins to dissolve, and a quiet, steady peace settles over our hearts like a gentle wave, washing away the despair that once held us captive. And let me tell you, the power of trust is not only in the relief it brings, but in the transformation it ignites. When the soul surrenders fully, something begins to change from the inside out. Faith grows where doubt once lingered. Hope rises where despair once weighed heavily. Strength is born where weakness seemed permanent. You begin to see life differently, not through the lens of fear or limitation, but through the eyes of the one who holds every tomorrow, who is greater than every problem, who is stronger than every storm. So tonight, hear the whisper to surrender, to trust, to let go completely and place everything in the hands of God. Do not hold back. Do not clutch at what you think you can control. Lift your heart fully to Him and let the miracle of trust work its quiet, yet unstoppable, power in your life. There is freedom in surrender. There is peace in trust, and there is a rest that no one else can give. There are times in life when the noise around us becomes unbearable. The world clamors for our attention, endless demands, pressing worries, the chaos of daily living, and our hearts can hardly keep pace. We try to solve every problem, to answer every question, to hold on to every control we think we have. And yet, in the midst of this clamor, the soul grows weary. Have you ever felt that? That desperate, aching weariness that comes when you have tried everything, given everything, and still find yourself standing at the edge of exhaustion, longing for peace. It is in that very moment that God whispers, not in the loudness of your striving, but in the stillness. Psalm 62 calls us to be silent before God, to let our hearts rest, and to recognize that He alone is our rock, our salvation, and our strength. Silence is not empty. Stillness is not weakness. On the contrary, they are acts of profound courage and faith. In the quiet, when you stop trying to manage the chaos around you, God moves in ways that cannot be rushed or forced. Imagine for a moment a great storm raging around a sturdy rock. The wind tears at it, the waves batter it, yet it remains unmoved, steadfast, unshakable. That is what God is for your soul. And when you stand in silence before Him, when you cease your striving and your anxiety, you find that same steadiness beginning to take hold within you. The storm does not immediately vanish, but your heart becomes anchored, secure in the knowledge that He is in control. Oh, I know how difficult it can be to stand still. Our minds are filled with questions, fears, and restless thoughts. We are tempted to move, to act, to fix what seems broken. But listen carefully. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is to pause, to quiet the mind, to surrender the need to understand everything, and simply to wait upon the Lord. In that sacred stillness, strength is born. Strength not of our own making, but a strength that flows from the very presence of God. It is in these moments, these pauses of quiet surrender, that He whispers courage to our hearts, hope to our spirits, and clarity to our vision. Consider for a moment the power of being silent before God. It is in that stillness that you begin to hear His voice clearly, undisturbed by the chatter of the world. It is there that the soul finds rest from worry, freedom from fear, and a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. You may feel weak, you may feel small, but in that very weakness, His power becomes evident. He is the rock upon which you can stand, the fortress that protects you from the storms, the unwavering presence that sustains you when nothing else can. And do not underestimate the patience required for this stillness. It is not always immediate. The soul may long for immediate answers, for instant relief. But God's timing is perfect, and His strength is revealed in ways that exceed human understanding. To be silent, to be still, to wait, this is an act of obedience, of trust, and of faith that draws us closer to Him. It is here that anxiety begins to loosen its grip, fear begins to fade, and hope begins to rise like the sun after a long, dark night. Tonight, I want you to consider what it would mean to truly be still before God, to let go of the need to control, to stop striving to fix everything, and to rest your heart and your mind in His presence. In that stillness, you will find strength that cannot be taken away, courage that cannot be shaken, and peace that cannot be disturbed. Psalm 62 reminds us that the soul finds its anchor not in our own power or understanding, but in the quiet confidence of standing before God, silent and waiting, trusting fully that He is working all things together for our good. There are times when life feels unbearably heavy, when troubles press down upon the heart, when fears multiply and hope seems distant. Perhaps you have felt it yourself, the weight of uncertainty, the sharp sting of disappointment, the quiet despair that creeps into your soul when you thought you had everything under control. And yet there is a peace that is deeper, stronger, and more profound than anything the world can offer. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that does not rely on circumstances, a peace that is found only in God. Psalm 62 reminds us that when the soul rests in Him, there is a calm that no human mind can explain, no reasoning can fully grasp, and no problem can shake. Think for a moment about the storms in your own life. Perhaps it is a broken relationship, a health crisis, financial worry, or the loss of someone you love. You have sought answers. You have tried to reason through the situation. You have looked for solutions that make sense to the mind, and yet the weight remains. And that is precisely where God's peace enters. It does not always come with an explanation. It does not always come when we expect it, and it may not look like what we hoped for. But it comes quietly, powerfully, and fully, right into the heart of the storm. Imagine standing in the midst of a raging sea, waves battering you from every side, winds howling, darkness pressing in, and suddenly, in the midst of chaos, a stillness envelops you. The storm has not vanished, yet your heart is unshaken, your mind is calm, your soul is at rest. That is the peace that surpasses understanding. It is not dependent on circumstances being perfect. It is not earned by effort or merit, and it cannot be manufactured by human will. It is a gift, a presence, a promise that holds steady even when everything else feels unsteady. And how often we try to understand before we surrender. How often we demand clarity before we release our control. Yet, true peace is not born of understanding. It is born of trust. It is born when we recognize that God is bigger than our problems, wiser than our thoughts, and more faithful than our fears. It is born when we stop trying to figure everything out and begin to simply rest in Him, knowing that He is already at work, that His plans are perfect, and that his love never fails. Even when our eyes cannot see the outcome, even when our hearts cannot grasp the reason, his peace descends like a gentle, unshakable river, carrying the soul above fear, doubt, and despair. Picture for a moment the relief that comes when the mind ceases its endless spinning, when the heart stops its frantic beating, when the soul surrenders fully to God's care. That relief is not ordinary. It is supernatural. It is not explained by human logic, yet it is undeniable. It is the evidence of a God who is present, who is faithful, who can calm the storms within and without. It is the testimony that no matter what trials you face, no matter what burdens you carry, you are never alone, and you are never beyond the reach of his peace. And so, tonight, if your heart is heavy, if your mind is restless, if your soul is weary, hear this invitation: come, and let the peace of God wrap around you. Let it flow through every anxious thought, every fear-laden moment, every trembling hope. Allow it to rise within you like a mighty river, lifting you above the storm, beyond understanding, into a place of calm certainty where you know, without a shadow of doubt, that he is enough. That is the power of a soul at rest in God, a peace that surpasses understanding, and a presence that never fails. There are moments in life when fear seems to have the upper hand. It creeps quietly at first, in the corners of our minds, in the sleepless nights, in the unanswered questions that press upon our hearts. Sometimes it comes roaring, a tidal wave of anxiety, doubt, and uncertainty, threatening to drown our hope. And yet God does not leave us to live in fear. He offers something far greater: faith, the divine gift that transforms fear into hope, despair into courage, and uncertainty into confident expectation. Psalm 62 reminds us that the soul that trusts in God will find strength, and it is faith that turns trembling hearts into bold ones, fear-filled minds into minds anchored in hope. Imagine standing at the edge of a dark valley, shadows stretching far beyond what your eyes can see. The path is unclear, the footing uncertain, and the unknown presses in from all sides. Fear whispers in your ear, you cannot make it, you will fail, you are not strong enough. And yet, even in the darkness, there is a light, a hand reaching out to you, a promise that lifts your heart and steadies your step. That hand is faith. That promise is God himself. It is faith that dares you to take the first step, the second step, the 100th step, even when the outcome is unseen, even when the way forward is shrouded in mystery. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust God in the midst of it. It is not saying, I am not afraid, but saying, Lord, you are greater than my fear. I will follow you despite it. And when you choose faith, something miraculous begins to happen. Fear loses its grip. Anxiety begins to fade. The soul that was once trembling finds a rhythm of courage, a rhythm of confident expectation, and a hope that cannot be extinguished by circumstance or trial. The impossible suddenly becomes possible, not by human effort, but by the power of a God who works in hearts surrendered to him. Consider the people in the scriptures, the ones who faced giants, storms, and trials that seemed insurmountable. What carried them through was not human strength, it was faith. Faith that whispered in the darkest hour, I believe that God is able. I believe that he will not fail. I believe that he is working all things together for good. And the same faith is available to you tonight. It is not earned, it is not bought. It is simply received by those who reach out with open hearts, willing to trust beyond what they can see, willing to believe beyond what they feel. And oh, the transformation is extraordinary. Fear that once paralyzed you begins to shrink. Worries that once weighed you down begin to dissolve. What once seemed impossible begins to appear as a pathway of divine opportunity. Faith lifts the soul above doubt, raises it above despair, and plants it firmly in the soil of hope. Hope that steadies the heart, strengthens the spirit, and empowers the soul to step forward boldly, even when the outcome is uncertain. Tonight, I want you to realize that fear does not have the final word. The trials, the struggles, the storms, they may come, but they do not determine the ending. Faith, trust, and hope in God have the final say. And when you allow faith to take hold, when you hand over your fears to him, your life begins to change from the inside out. You are no longer driven by worry, you are propelled by hope. You are no longer imprisoned by doubt, you are carried by confident expectation. The God who holds the universe also holds your heart, your future, your every step. And so, my friends, as we reflect on Psalm 62 and the journey of the soul, remember this: true rest, unshakable peace, and unwavering hope are not found in the things of this world. They are found in God alone. When we surrender fully, when we stand still before him, when we trust him with all our hearts, fear gives way to faith, doubt gives way to hope, and the soul is lifted into a peace that surpasses all understanding. May you walk from this place tonight with that assurance deep within your heart, that no matter the storms, no matter the trials, God is your rock, your fortress, and your salvation. Step forward boldly, rest in Him completely, and let your soul be filled with the peace, strength, and hope that only He can give. Good luck as you trust Him, walk in faith, and embrace the rest He offers. Thank you for opening your hearts to hear this message, and may God bless you abundantly.